Okay, here's a video on setting gain levels, and this is for vocals only. Setting gain for vocals is actually probably the easiest thing to do, but when setting gain for instruments like guitars or bass, especially drums, that can be a little bit more, I don't want to say challenging, but more attention to detail needs to be addressed when setting gain levels for instruments. So this video is focusing on vocals. So to get a good vocal out of the mic, it's important to make sure that the gain or the as much power that we can get from the microphone within reason. We want to make sure that we can get as much from the microphone as possible. And when I mean within reason, we don't want to run the levels up into the yellow, definitely not into the red. We want to make sure that the singer is going to be within a particular range of the microphone. And this is important because a microphone, the physics of many mics has something called a proximity effect. In other words, when the singer is up, let's say they're this close, here we go, let's say they're this close to the microphone is going to have it's going to sound a particular way, and it's going to have a certain amount of volume to it. But as the singer gets closer and closer to the mic, like this, there's something called the proximity effect, which is just an increase in the amount of bass that is coming from the microphone. Now the singer may not be singing with a lot of bass, but when the microphone is this close, a lot more bass comes out. And that alone can affect the overall gain level of what the mic is producing. So when doing a mic check, if you just want to make sure the mic is working fine, you know, test, 1, 2, that's fine. But when it comes to setting gain levels, it's important for the performers to sing like different parts of what they would be singing during their event. For example, have them sing soft, get a gain level, have them sing loud, take a look at the gain level. Okay, this is not very difficult to do, but there's just some things that you need to look at and to make sure that you're following. And first off, there is no set level. In other words, when I turn this gain up, there is nothing that says this is where the gain has to be for this particular mic, for this particular singer. It does not work that way. If it was that way, they wouldn't have these settings. They wouldn't have any of these gain settings. There would just be maybe a switch that says gain on or off. I'm just saying there. So anyway, we're going to find a point for vocals where we can start with a good mix, and we're going to use this channel here as our test channel, and we're going to be using a Sennheiser microphone. This is just a 835, pretty decent mic. For a cheap mic, that is pretty decent. So what we're going to do is make sure that, and we're going to pan down here, we want to make sure that our PFL is turned on. And with this, we're going to be able to watch the meters to see how loud our signal is that's coming through. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that the EQ is not active. Make sure everything is flat. We always want to start with the flat. Make sure our high-pass filter, well, normally for vocals you would have the high-pass filter on, but I think for in here we'll probably just keep it off. And make sure if your board has a pad on it, a 20 dB pad, make sure that's off. That can really throw off your levels. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to turn the gain up some. We want to get some place to start. Now we're going to talk into it. Check, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. 2, 2. Okay, as I speak a little bit louder into it, it is peaking somewhere around 0, which is fine. But really, I think we could probably give it a little bit more gain to it. Check, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. And actually, it's fine. Test, 1, 2. Test, 1, 2. It's actually fine if we have it go into the yellow just a little bit, because nobody sings at a consistent level, and nobody is really going to be able to maintain a same consistent distance from the microphone as they are singing. Check 1 2, test 1 2, test 1 2. Okay, and I'm probably speaking maybe about maybe an inch from the microphone. For me, this will probably be a good place. But what we want to do is we're going to turn on the high pass filter. Check 1 2, check 1 2. That's going to affect how the gain level is coming through. Check 1 2. And then also, the reason why we have the EQ turned off is that if you have any of the EQ here turned on, it's going to affect this level here. Now what I'm going to do, just to show you, we're going to turn the high pass filter off, our EQ's on, I'm going to add some bass to it. Check 1 2, check 1 2, check, check 1 2. Now you can tell that it is a lot louder when I'm speaking a little bit louder. Check 1 2, it's the bass that's coming through. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Okay, we want to make sure that everything is set pretty much flat. Now this is probably a really good place to keep for the vocals. It's going to allow us a little bit of headroom. Test 1 2 for when they get loud. So let's pan down here. Let's take a look at the meter. Check, check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Now on this board here, this is an Allen Heath GL 2400 board. Test 1 2. That second green light, check. 1 2, that's 0 dB. Above that is 6 dB. Check. 1 2 2. Now if I really yell into it, check. 1 2. That flashes. So it's good to make sure that what you're looking at here on the board is going to have some correlation with what you see on the meters. Check. 1 2. So this is a good place to start. Now, I will say this. The gain adjustments up here is not a mixer. You do not mix your board from up here. There's some people that do, and it is the incorrect way of mixing. You mix using the faders, which what they were designed to do. And I will say this, leaving a fader at 0 for, let's just say we have a bunch of vocalists here. Putting all faders at 0, like this, and then setting, I think you're going to follow me here, then setting everybody's gain to adjust according to what is shown in the faders. This is not the way to mix. Because looking at this, you cannot tell if everybody's vocals are set at 0 and you've made all of your adjustments up there at the gain, you cannot tell, just from looking at this, you cannot tell who is contributing the most or who's contributing the least to the overall mix. You can't tell. You don't know who's louder and you don't know who's softer. So you do not want to run a mix like this. If you see a mixing board and you see some levels are higher than others, some are quieter, well, you know, more down on the fader list. If you see it something like this, then looking at it, you can tell maybe who's stronger, who's weaker. Maybe they need more volume. This is probably lead. These could be backing vocals. This is how you mix. When you set the gain, this is how you want to mix. You want to be able to look at your faders and know who is contributing the most or the least to the overall mix. So, when we've got our settings set over here, this is peaking somewhere around -3, maybe up to 0. So once we get that set, we can turn off our PFL. As you notice, our meters go away. Test 1 2, and then this is what we're going to use for the show. We're just going to be able to watch this right here. This is a good setting right here, and if we need to make some other minor adjustments, we'll just turn on the PFL, we'll look up the meters and make a final, maybe another minor adjustment on it. All right, hope this was helpful. This is the gain settings for vocals. Instruments we'll do later, and drums we'll do later as well. Thanks for watching.